Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to call our meeting to order, and our welcome to our meeting tonight, and we're going to have Kathy Valdez, who's our city clerk, do a roll call.
The record shall reflect that all members are present.
Okay, tonight the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by, I think we'll just have Pastor Paul Martin. He's going to do the invocation after that, and I'll have him also lead the Pledge of Allegiance for us. So would you like to come up forward? That mic right there. That mic right there, yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this rain that you gave us this week and this season that was so needed in your created world. We thank you, Lord, for this city, a city that we all share a common bond, that we all value and love and care about deeply. We pray, Lord, that you be with all of the council members, the mayors, the clerks, that you give them wisdom and patience and the ability to engage and listen, and in their vocation, make the decisions they see best for this wonderful city of Vista. And we pray, Lord, that you be with all the people here participating, the citizens of this great city, that you give them wisdom and patience to engage and listen, and to look to our city council members for leadership and direction of this city. We also, Lord, thank you for all of the police and fire, all the first responders of this city that put their life on the line on a daily basis for our protection and our good and our welfare. We pray, Lord, for a productive, safe meeting for all in here. And we pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. That's Pastor Paul Martin. He's actually with the assistant pastor at Faith Lutheran Church. So thank you. Welcome, and thanks for coming tonight. In accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the Buena Sanitation meeting pursuant to Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. The next thing is the approval of our agenda by City Manager Patrick Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. There are no changes this evening.
Okay, and our City Attorney, Darrell Piper, is going to bring us out of our closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. The council met in closed session today for item CS1 on today's closed session agenda. No action was taken that's required to be reported at this time. Thank you.
Okay, we have presentations next on our agenda, and our first presentation is a proclamation declaring Wednesday, March the 1st to be Carl and Peggy Ramsing Day in the City of Vista in honor of being chosen as the City of Vista's 2016 Persons of the Year. And so, Carl and Peggy, if you'll join me at the podium down here, we'll give you present your proclamation. Do this. There, okay. And so I'm going to give you the proclamation here. Hold on. Hope I have my agenda with it here. Okay, so I always like to turn the pretty side out so it looks nice, so you can see. So there it is, pretty side. You can hold this. Okay, and I'm going to read the proclamation for them. So, whereas Peggy and Carl Ramsing are the recipients of the City of Vista 2016 Persons of the Year Award, Peggy and Carl exemplify the spirit of service that is at the very heart of Vista community. Since 2003, Peggy and Carl Ramsing have been assisting Vista artists, and in an effort to foster greater participation in the arts, they were part of the formation of the Vista Art Foundation. Their passion for promoting local artists and ensuring art was integrated into the community also helped lead to the formation of the City of Vista Public Arts Commission. Whereas the mission of the Public Arts Commission is to foster sponsorship and stewardship of public art, to gain recognition of the economic benefits tied to the aesthetic enhancement of our city's public spaces, and to expand the opportunities for residents to experience public art. Whereas Peggy served on the Public Arts Commission for 10 years, and Carl is a current chair of the Friends of the Vista Library Committee, where a new mural, 2 fused glass panels, and artist-designed bike racks are being installed. So if you haven't seen those, take a trip over there. Whereas both Carl and Peggy have left an indelible imprint on our community through their generous donations of time and funds to promote cultural and public art, and through their contributions to the Moonlight Amphitheater. Whereas one can see the listing mark the Ramsings have left on the community by viewing some of the beautiful art in the city, including the downtown horse sculptures at the Creek Walk and the art displays at the Vista Library, the children's mural, artistic bike rack, and kite sculpture, which were generously donated by the Ramsings. Therefore, the mayor and members of the Vista City Council congratulate both Carl and Peggy Ramsing on their selection as 2016 Persons of the Year Award. Both have encouraged and sponsored art and artists within Vista for many years. So we hereby proclaim Wednesday, March the 1st, 2017, tomorrow as Carl and Peggy Ramsing Day in the city of Vista. So congratulations to both of them. Oh, a picture. You have to do a picture. Want us to come forward? Up here. Oh, come on up here.
I've gotten permission to give less than a minute. Carl and I are not artists. We call ourselves art encouragers. Artists are creative and inventive, and they like to have fun. So we accept this award on behalf of the artists who cause Vista to be such a lively community. We've seen the arts create both social and economic benefits over the years. Vista now has 26 murals and 28 permanent sculptures, as well as an active utility box program, an annual Alley Art Festival, and an annual competitive kite sculpture event. And the public needs to know that this is accomplished through grants and collaborations, donations by artists, private donations, and a city stipend for the Public Art Commission. And a number of the sculptures on public display are on consignment and still owned by the artists. We're thankful for them all and for what they've done for our town. And I just received the business card of the artist who has her opening in the gallery behind you, and notice that her card says, "I believe in the power of the arts. Join me in making a difference." Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rigby is going to take the next presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. February every year is National Heart Health Awareness Month. And in the city of Vista, we take our heart health very, very seriously with different activities, working with different organizations. And every year we like to recognize February as Heart Health Month. And we give a proclamation to a community partner that is in our community, that is working toward the health of our community and keeping the hearts of Vista safe. And so with that, I would like to have Amber Tervoot and Dr. Kim from Scripps Hospital meet me here at the front. So I will read the proclamation that we have here, and taking a lead from the mayor, I'll let you hold this beautiful proclamation that we have. It says, whereas each February, heart health awareness is promoted nationwide. Whereas heart disease is the leading cause of death for women in the United States, killing more women than all cancers combined. Many women experience no advanced symptoms of heart disease, and only 54% of women are aware that heart disease is the leading cause of death for women. Whereas more than 64 million Americans suffer one or more forms of cardiovascular disease, including high blood pressure, coronary heart disease, congestive heart failure, stroke, and congenital heart defects that can lead to heart disease. And whereas in March 2015, Scripps Health opened the Priebus Cardiovascular Institute, I was there that day, it's very impressive, where cardiologists and cardiac surgeons use innovative research for the improvement of heart care, including leading-edge studies for valve replacement and genomic testing for cholesterol-reducing drugs. And whereas Scripps cardiologists and cardiac surgeons offer women with heart disease support and resources through the National Women Heart Program. This year, Scripps Health opened a Women's Heart Center offering expert cardiology care for women by women. Now, therefore, the mayor and the members of the Vista City Council support the efforts of Scripps Health and in their care for Vista residents, and we encourage all Vista residents to join the fight against heart disease. We do hereby proclaim the month of February 2017 Heart Health Month in the city of Vista, and thank you to Scripps Health for what you do.
Thank you. Our next presentation is Maureen Stapleton, the General Manager of San Diego County Water Authority, and she's going to provide us with a presentation on the water issues, which is a great presentation. We saw it at Sandag, and I thought it was such a great presentation, I thought we should bring it here.
Well, Mayor and City Council members, it's a pleasure to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity to really address the full council in some of the issues that are important to your community and our ratepayers. I think everyone is aware of who the Water Authority is. The next one, thank you. We are the water wholesaler and the regional planner for the San Diego region. And we have 24 member agencies, or the retail agencies, for the city of Vista. It's Vista Irrigation District, one of our outstanding retailers. And we provide between 80 and 90% of all the water that's used within the region. We have been engaged in a multi-decade program to improve our water reliability through diversification. And as you can see in these pie charts, for those of you who were in the region in 1991 and remember the terrible cutback we had in water supplies, 31% cutback. Our region lost 52,000 jobs, and it was devastating not only to our economy but our quality of life. Well, we embarked upon diversification, and as you can see, we are far, far along with a wide range of both local and regional supplies, whether it be through imported water, recycling, desalination, groundwater recovery, and so forth. In addition, we've also made historic investments in our infrastructure. I always say if you have great infrastructure but you don't have supplies, it doesn't do any good. And if you have great supplies but no infrastructure or unreliable infrastructure, does no good. So we have built 2 dams, Olivenhain and San Vicente. We've lined canals to conserve water. We've relined some of our pipelines that absolutely, in order to extend its life in the most cost-effective way. We've created a pump storage program to generate over 40 megawatts of energy, and we've generated or created a 100 million gallon a day treatment plant in Twin Oaks Valley. So I want to talk about the California drought. And you all have heard about it. We've had it for many years. It's really the 6th year is the 2016-2017. But what's important is that droughts are common in California. We are a state of feast and famine when it comes to hydrology. And part of the responsibility of regional and local water planners is to ensure that you can withstand those droughts and that you take the water when it's available and you utilize it in those dry years. And that's exactly what we have done to increase our water reliability for the region. So we consider this a tale of 2 emergencies that's happening in California. It was the best of hydrologic times, which is think of yesterday, and it was the worst of times. So the state of California just earlier this month voted 5-0 at the State Water Board to continue the drought emergency for all 58 counties within the region, regardless of the supplies that we had, regardless of the hydrology in California. And while we argued that they should go ahead and let those drought emergency regs expire, they chose not to do so. But if you notice, at the same time they are approving an extension of the drought emergency, 50 of the 58 counties are in a flood emergency. Highly unusual. My saying is this is the wettest drought in California's history. So let me talk about kind of what is happening. So you see here, it's a precipitation index of Northern Sierra, where we get a lot of our water. This is a normal year. This is the wettest year on record, 1983. 2016 was last year, so it was slightly above, and here we are, 230% of normal in precipitation. And if it keeps going like it is, because that was last week, we're going to have to rechart this because it's going to be well above that 90. Let's look at the Northern Sierra Snowpack, which is the largest reservoir in California. This is normal. This is 2016 snowpack, and here we go, 154% of normal and rising. You've heard Tahoe has run out of room of where to put the extra snow, and they have 20-foot walls of snow sitting in Tahoe. Yosemite is the same, and that is our largest reservoir in California, is our snowpack. Let's go to Lake Oroville. Oroville's been in a lot of news lately. This is historic average of the storage in Oroville. This is 2016, and this is 2017. And you can see it went up and over capacity, and that was when they had the emergency spill. That significant drop down, that is just recent, and that was really to bring the reservoir down so they could evaluate the damaged spillway, correct the emergency spillway, and begin the construction of the repairs. But let me give you some examples. Oh, one more. San Luis Reservoir is another reservoir we get our water from. Historic average. 2016 was quite low. 2017, we're almost at capacity. And they have asked all agencies to store as much water as possible, move as much water out of Northern California as possible. So let me show you some before and afters. And these are all 2016 to 2017. This is Lake Oroville before, Lake Oroville after. Next one, Truckee River, a feeder before, a year later. Yuba River, another feeder, September of last year. You see the little people down there. Those people are gone now. So hopefully they walked away. But you can see that we are replete with water right now. And so we will continue. The advantage that we have is that, we have been storing water, and we have more than 3 years of supply available. We also get our water from Colorado River Basin, and you may have heard concerns about the river having a long drought on the river. It's sitting last week at 152% of normal, and what went through California is now dumping snow and rain in the Colorado River Basin. Local precipitation, this is before yesterday. This is last week. We're ranging between 136% of normal to 169 at Ramona. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the MWD rate case. It's been pretty quiet since we won the lower court decision in November of 2015, and I wanted to let you know where we are at. So what's important is people ask me all the time, what's at stake in the litigation? And in just the first 8 years that we have filed the lawsuit, it's about $500 million. We're talking about getting back into our region that our communities have overpaid by $500 million in just 8 years. Think of it as we are being overcharged, meaning that others in Southern California are being subsidized for their water supply. If we're overpaying, they're underpaying. And it's almost $7.5 billion in the 45-year time frame. And that's the time frame that we look at when we look at long-term water planning. In addition, they miscalculated our water rights, and it's so many water rights that it's equivalent to another desalination plant. So it is not a small amount of miscalculation. So in November of 2015, Superior Court in complex cases, Judge Carnell ruled that MWD's rates were in fact illegal and unconstitutional for a variety of reasons, and you can pick any or all of them. But what's troubling is Met has continued to set rates using the same formula since November of 15, and what they have done is appealed. So the decision we got was for $244 million, and that's just the first 4 years. The 537 is for all 8 years where we've sued. And we got damages for the 4 years, interest, costs, and attorney fees. And the best part is, according to the judge, interest accrues at 7% per year, much better than any of our portfolios, so I'm okay with waiting a little while. We are getting close to an April or May hearing before the appellate court, and we expect the final decision in summer or fall of this year. So what does it mean to your ratepayers, to your community? You can see I've highlighted Vista Irrigation District. And just in the first 4 years, your community has ponied up $9.5 million of overcharges that have gone up into the LA area and subsidized Orange County, Ventura County, Riverside, San Bernardino. That's not right. And the 8 years in which we have filed multiple lawsuits, if we are successful, it's nearly $20 million for your community. $20 million that Vista Irrigation District has had to charge the ratepayers of your community because we're being overcharged. So let me talk about some of the concerns we have beyond just the rate setting. It's really the financial practices that we're starting to see at Metropolitan that is giving us grave concern. So let me talk about MWD. Their last long-range financing plan was done in 2004. You are talking about 13 years ago that they haven't updated their financial plan, which is very concerning. We do it on a regular basis every couple of years, and we estimate the low and high rate forecasts based upon that. Well, let's see how Met actually did in their rates. Their rates went way beyond their estimates. As a matter of fact, in the next slide, you can see that they've increased their rates over 10 years by 100%, an average of 7.5% per year. Now, I came from city management, and I know for a fact it would not be acceptable in a municipality. And certainly from our standpoint, this isn't acceptable for a water district. So let me tell you what's happening. Met overcharge, in addition to what they did on the rate structure, which was deemed illegal, they overcharged all of their customers by nearly $850 million in a 4-year period, meaning they set rates higher than was necessary to cover their cost of service. So you can imagine how much money was moving into Metropolitan, and their cash reserves were enormous. Let me show you what it means to your constituents. That means nearly $7 million in a 4-year time period came out of your community's pocket and went up to Met as cash, unnecessarily. So what did they do with all of that cash? They overspent it. They spent in that same 4-year period $1.2 billion of unbudgeted actions. These were beyond their approved budget by the board, unexpected, unanticipated, and not scheduled. That gives us pause for concern. So you noticed that they only collected $850 in overcharges, but they spent $1.2. So guess what happened to their cash reserves? They were completely depleted. So they went out and in an unscheduled borrowing, just borrowed last year $900 million in a variety of ways, including a bank loan with a private bank at a private bank's interest rate, which is very unusual for a public agency. So, next slide shows they depleted their cash reserves, and as part of the $900 million, they borrowed $300 million to put back in their operating reserve. So now they have an operating reserve of $378 million, but the unfortunate part is $300 million of it is borrowed money. So now you have to ask, why would you borrow money to put it in a reserve? And you can see why we are concerned. So here's what I'm asking of the Vista City Council. I'm asking you to keep apprised of the Met activities that impact our entire region's ratepayers. And I ask for your support in the Water Authority's continuing pending litigation and any future litigation that is to really recover unfair rates that our constituents have had to pay. Also, we appreciate the opportunity and any further opportunities to share this information with your community members in Vista. And we know that all of you often are having discussions with other Southern California elected officials. And I would appreciate it if you would share your concerns when you go to the League of California Cities or council get-togethers where you're having a conversation with other cities' council members, and tell them that you're concerned about MWD's financial practices and ask if they are engaging their representatives at Metropolitan and sharing their concerns. In addition, I would ask that this council either pass a resolution of support or ask that the mayor and council send a letter of support to us as we continue to fight for your community and the other communities in our region. Thank you very much for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Franklin, or Deputy Mayor Franklin.
Thank you very much for being with us tonight to present this material to us. It's been a few years since I served as a member of the Board of Directors at Vista Irrigation District, and I've forgotten just the depth of this problem. It's absolutely mind-blowing. I did just want to quickly, if I could, thank, in addition to thanking you for being here tonight, I wanted to thank the President of the Board of Directors of the Vista Irrigation District, Marty Miller, for being here tonight. He's also our representative, who serves as Board of Directors on the San Diego County Water Authority. And I also wanted to say thank you to General Manager Eldon Boone and Assistant Manager Brett Hodgkiss for being here tonight. Thank you. We appreciate you being here. Congratulations also on the progress on the Indian water rights settlement that you've made after so many decades fighting that. And then I would just conclude my remarks by saying that I would direct staff to bring back a resolution of support to us at a future meeting for the agenda in support of the water rates litigation, because that's such an important issue and just staggering the extent of the abuse that our citizens have suffered at the hands of Metropolitan.
Councilor Aguilera.
Yeah, I also wanted to thank the VID members that are here, and especially thank Maureen for being here. I saw your presentation out in Verona and leaned over to the mayor and said, hey, this would be great. And she was right there with me on that. And I know Councilwoman Rigby was there as well. So we all, you definitely sparked some interest in us. Your numbers here, $9.5 million. I think that's one of the reasons I want to have you here, because I want the people of Vista to know what's at stake here. And if you guys are successful at this and we can get some of this money back, there'll be some talk as to how that money comes back to the community. So, I mean, that's up to the board.
Right.
So, but at least people will be interested and maybe show up at their meetings and discuss it. So I thank you for taking the time out of your evening to come up to Vista and represent the district.
Well, I appreciate the time. And I want to be clear that any money that is returned to us, less or any legal expenses that aren't reimbursed, will be going back to each member agency on their pro rata basis. The Water Authority is not getting this money. We're here to fight for you getting the money.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to reiterate, thank you very much. As was mentioned, your presentation at Verona at the Sandag Board Retreat was very informative, very eye-opening, and very disconcerting, as you said. And we appreciate you being at the forefront and fighting for all of us. I do have a question that's been asked of me by constituents about the Metropolitan Board. Who are they, and how do they get to be on the board?
Right. Like we have 24 member agencies, and they each have representatives on our board. Metropolitan has the same structure of 26 agencies, and we send 4 of the Water Authority board members up to Met each month. Now, their Met board is 37 people, so we are 4 of 37. There are 13 cities at Metropolitan, which is a little different than us because most of our agencies are water districts. Theirs, they have a pretty large chunk. Half of them are actually city councils. And so, like you do often appoint someone else to serve on the board, they do that as well. For example, City of Glendale or Pasadena, their council selects a community member to attend the Met board meeting and be their rep.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you to the other members who are here tonight. We appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Maureen, I just have one question. When you, at Sandag, you talked about a proposal to do a per-person usage charge on water that they're thinking about doing. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Right. So the state of California started deciding that it was better to manage our water in Sacramento than it was for us to manage the water here in our region. So that's what they did with the drought emergency regs. They did it one size fits all, doesn't matter how much water you have. The next area that they're heading to is the long-range water use efficiency regulations, and they're actually talking about determining a specific gallons per person per day allocation, indoor and outdoor, and then having the water agencies enforce those regulations. It gives us great pause and great concern when you're talking about managing what really is a regional and a local issue, having it managed from Sacramento. The Water Authority, as well as many, many other water agencies and our member agencies, have a long history of effective water management. And we hate to see that authority move up to Sacramento where it's a one-size-fits-all.
Thank you so much for coming. And just so people know, also in Sacramento, they didn't have water meters, or don't have water meters, which we have down here. So,
right. Actually, the Water Authority was the sponsor of the legislation that requires water meters for all urban areas by 2025, and it took us 3 years to get that passed.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's such an interesting presentation. We appreciate your coming up and doing that for us tonight.
Thank you again.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Councilmember Franklin.
Yes. I just wanted to add to that the residents, the members of the board and the residents of the Vista Irrigation District deserve a lot of credit, because I believe the number is we've reduced our total consumption by 20%, and we've done that twice at a minimum, right?
Absolutely. Your community has responded every time that Vista or the Water Authority has asked them to come and start conserving because we have an issue, and your community has been extremely responsive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, that brings us to our consent calendar. And you guys, for my council members, I have a blank screen tonight. My screen's broken, so I'm having to look around. So I'm trying to look on Patrick's over here, so if I don't call on you right away, kind of flag me down. So the next thing on our agenda will be our consent calendar. The recommendations on the following consent calendar, which are items C1 through C6, will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. Any member of the public can remove an item by submitting a request to speak card to the clerk secretary. Items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following the adoption of the calendar. So with that, do I have any? I have no speakers or nothing removed from the public. Do I have anything from up here? If not, I would entertain a motion. Councilmember Aguilera.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. So please cast your votes. Oh, Councilmember Rigby, did you have something to say? Okay. I have to raise my hand because I don't have a vote.
Okay.
So, raising my hand does nothing. Yeah, I vote yes.
And then, Madam Mayor, I would ask that it be recorded a no vote on C6 for me, please.
Okay, so done. We don't have any public hearings tonight, and so the next item will be our discussion item. Items scheduled for discussion generally require a detailed explanation by the staff or the agency member that has requested the item. And tonight we have 3 discussion items. First one is the Central Vista Business Improvement District update, and our Economic Development Director, Kevin Ham, is going to introduce that item.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. As the Mayor said, I'm Kevin Ham, Director of Economic Development, and with me is Michael Luna, our Economic Development Specialist, and Michael will introduce this item this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In June 2015, City Council approved a contract with the Vista Village Business Association to administer the Central Vista Business Improvement District. At that time, the City Council requested regular updates from the VVBA on the status of the administration of the CVBID work plan. This report covers activities from October through December 2016. The city is in receipt of the second quarter CVBID work plan update, which has been approved by the CVBID Advisory Board on February 6, 2017. The work plan update details VVBA activities from both CVBID funded items and those activities funded by the VVBA revenues. Status updates on the progress of each activity are included as well. City staff continues to work with the VVBA to ensure proper reporting and compliance with the administration agreement. Kevin Ham and I are here to answer any questions following the presentation. Now at this time, I would like to introduce Jeffrey Frankel, the Executive Director of the Vista Village Business Association, who will present on the work plan.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, City Council. Thank you for having me. So just to reteach me, I'm hitting to the right. Okay, so next slide. So our first event of the second quarter was our Vista Vintage and Makers Market. Fantastically received event. It was a brand new event. It spoke to a new coming to Vista demographic, the younger artistic makers culture that Vista is, we're trying to, as VVBA, brand the city as the city of makers. So this was our first program, where you'll see in the upper right a coupon book. We look to both sponsors for marketing and to a coupon book and revenue from the coupon book to help fund the program. The program was a feel-good event. It was well received, and the VVBA supported the profitability of Instance 1 and has given them 2 dates in 2017, the first of which will be April the 30th, and the second later in the year in the month of October. One more slide, please. Winterfest was an amazingly successful feel-good event with approximately 5,000 persons attending during the course of the program, 2,500 to 3,000 persons lining the street of Main Street, DDR, for the finale and tree lighting. City Council was present for the countdown, and it was amazing when I went to my Facebook and I saw Councilman Aguilera's comments, Councilmember Rigby's comments, the video that Joe Green posted from the stage at Winterfest of the people of Vista. A fabulous event and well run. Social media was a buzz. I will share that unfortunately it didn't do as well as it could have financially. So we took a little bit of a hit there. Also, we'll move, keep moving. With regards to the financial recap of the quarter, the other event was an event that was postponed and eventually rescheduled into next fiscal year, the Casino Night, which will be in conjunction with the Vista Barbecue Classic in July. So it will not necessarily be during this fiscal year, but there were certain funds that were outlaid for the casino company, for Sinopolis as a host, and things like that, where VVBA took a hit for monies that were outlaid. Credits are given, everything is intact, but money has been outlaid for that. And right now, VVBA is showing a red quarter. Very small red quarter. Michael and I spoke yesterday, and we believe it's just shy of $400. To that, we are working with, we have a board member who is a champion. He's coming forth with a personal guarantee up to $10,000 to float us, to bridge us when we have difficult events and stretch goals to meet. So I thank him for his generosity. We are also in the midst of writing 2 grants, one which we've received before from Supervisor Bill Horn. We have upped the amount that we requested, and we documented all the various items that we are seeking, of which many are there so that we can not have to rent items like tables and pop-ups and radios and things for events that will help events moving forward continue to be profitable. And as I mentioned, the casino night will be rescheduled to July. The second grant is a partnership that I'm working on with Sarah Spinks of the Back Fence Society. One of the things she brought to me, and I know she spoke with Councilman Franklin, about potential of artistic cigarette butt dispenser. She is the programmer of the Only Losers Litter campaign, and 60+% of litter is cigarette-related litter. So we work together to put together a grant from Keep America Beautiful, and we're hoping that that too comes through, and we can, through the back fence and through the artist community, build dispensers that will create an artistic feel in the downtown area. So moving forward, we have 2 fundraisers. One is our archery extravaganza, and the larger fundraiser is at the tail end of the year is Mini Golf for Good. Really, these are not necessarily fundraisers, but archery extravaganza is meant to be a team builder for the various businesses, corporations, and even youth teams in the area to help them guide their staff, how to have one another's back, how to work together as a unit. Mini Golf for Good is a marketing opportunity. Each putt-putt golf stop is done to the tune of the given business. So the business is marketed through the putt-putt golf. It is also marketed through marketing collateral at the front end of each hole, and the opportunity for members of that business to be present, have that face-to-face interaction with the public. And that'll be on May the 28th. So I want to thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions. I have to thank both Natalie Trevino, our promotions chair, who's here with me today, Cliff Kaiser, a member, our past president and member of our financial committee, and Dave Mears, one of our contractors from Legendary Event Management. Thank you all for being here.
Do you have any questions? Councilman Aguilera, is that your?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Jeffrey, for being here and presenting. My question, I guess it probably gets asked over and over the years. I was just, the other day I had to go down to City Hall in Oceanside, and it was Thursday, and I happened to walk over to their farmers market, and it was pretty nice. I mean, they have a great turnout and some great products being sold and food, and anyways, it was a great event. They had music going. Have we talked about ever bringing that back to our downtown? I know they're pretty happy where they're at right now, but is there any talks long term? I'm not talking about this summer or anything, but I'm talking down the road. Is there any
similar program to that, but not quite a farmer's market or the Sunset Market? Obviously, they have a much broader staff base and funding base. We are talking about a program that we are developing called Vista Night Out. It will be hosted in Main Street, DDR. It will come with live music. Will be there. It will come with almost like a progressive dinner. So they come down, they have a cocktail at one of our local breweries or pubs. They go to dinner at Flying Pig, and then they go to Little Cakes for a cupcake for dinner. Come sit and join us. We'll have vendor fare along Main Street, live music. That is something that's in the development. Right now it's targeting a launch next fiscal year in September.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Green.
First of all, thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank your whole crew. Natalie Trevino, I know I see her hitting the streets all the time, so great job with all you do, Natalie. You're newer to the VVBA. I know you're our new president, and I am also new to this council. And I know how it is stepping into an organization that you previously really weren't a part of. And my question to you is just kind of how do you see the VVBA going? Has it grown since you've taken over? Are you optimistic? Is our membership growing? Are we making progress? Are we moving forward? And all that good stuff. So just kind of a warm and fuzzy to, hey, I'm here. It's
Absolutely.
Going well, so go ahead.
Absolutely. So I will share that the Business Improvement District is a partnership that we do alongside of economic development. So when a new business comes into the boundaries, that's what gives VVBA a new member, a new bid member. We as an organization this year went from a board of 11 to a board of 12. We are soon to bring that up by one more member. One of the things I came in and suggested was the need for legal counsel on the board, somebody with a legal mind who can help guide us to making the right legal decisions. Second, an accountant or somebody with accounting background to help us make the right financial decisions. And since coming, I've learned, and since working with our staff here with regards to the potential CBD, the need to bring on property owners. So right now, as I mentioned, we have a person who has put in an application, who is an attorney. He's going to join our board and be voted in at our next board meeting. We have a bylaw that says between 9 and 15. We also have 2 property owners that have reached out to me to get involved, Roddy Browning and Tom Bogle. So hopefully very soon you'll see a full board and good stuff coming.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for that update. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't see any other speakers here. So I'm guessing we have to thank you for coming and giving your presentation. And we wish you all the best. We want you to be very successful. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Oh, Kevin.
I just want to add one additional thing. I don't want to miss this, but we also have the Oversight Board, and the chairperson, Cassie Cole, is here. And I wanted to recognize her because in addition to staff, that committee oversees their budget and does a great review. And sometimes they're called on a moment's notice to oversee and act on some of those things. So I just wanted to make sure we recognize Cassie.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin, for doing that, and thank you, Cassie, for being present.
Thank you. And thanks, Cassie, too. Thank you. Okay, the next thing on our agenda, D2 is our fiscal year 2016-17 second quarter financial report, and our finance director, Lauren Worm, will provide the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. The fiscal year 16-17 second quarter report serves as a summary and comparison of general fund budget to actual results. General fund revenues and expenditures are tracking consistently with budgetary expectations for the second quarter. Significant amounts of cash receipts are not received evenly throughout the year, so we would not expect to be at 50% at this time. The report includes 14 proposed operating and capital budget adjustments for the second quarter, as explained in Exhibit 2 on pages 8 and 9 of the agenda report. Some of the more significant proposed adjustments include a donation of $200,000 for the McClellan Center improvements, a reduction of $160,000 for the red light camera contract cancellation, $196,000 for a state COPS grant, and $150,000 for adding a third through lane on Civic Center Drive between the railroad tracks and Phillips Street. The recommendation is to receive and file the fiscal year 16-17 second quarter financial report and adopt the resolution amending the fiscal year 16-17 operating and capital project budgets. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, do I have any questions on that? Councilor Aguilera.
Thank you. The $200,000 donation to the senior center, can you identify where that money came from?
Yeah, I can. There was a refinancing of an affordable housing project last year that the council approved, and as a result, the developer was making a donation to the community and chose the Gloria McClellan Adult Activity Center to make that donation.
So that was from one of our developers then?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
See no other speakers or questions. I need a motion on this item.
Moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. I'm voting yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 3, our discussion item, proposed general plan amendment and zone change at the southwest corner of Sycamore Avenue and Watson Way. Community Development and Engineering Director John Conley will provide the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a proposal for a general plan amendment and zone change, a discussion item only. This is not for any kind of final action, just to get some feedback from the council on the proposal that's before us this evening. The project location is at the southwest corner of Sycamore Avenue and Watson Way. It's shown on the overhead here with the red polygon around it. The total site area is 11.1 acres, includes several parcels within that acreage. The proposed project site that's being discussed is in the yellow. That's about 7.8 acres of the 11-acre site. This general project area was last discussed by the City Council in May of last year with a proposal for a retirement facility, a residential care facility that was being considered, also required a zone change, but that applicant has apparently not moved forward with the application. The subject property is currently designated low-density residential, which allows residential uses at a density of 2 units per acre, and commercial neighborhood. In our general plan, commercial neighborhood is a largely retail and service-oriented commercial zone. Comparable zoning is estate residential for the low-density residential area and commercial C1 for the commercial neighborhood area. The proposal that's being discussed would change the general plan designation on the 7.8 acre portion of the site to medium density residential in our general plan. The corresponding zoning would be RM, multi-residential 10, which allows a density of up to 10 dwelling units per acre. MLC Holdings Incorporated has submitted a proposal to the Planning Department for 61 detached residential condos, which is a conceptual site plan that's shown here. Calls for 21 3-bedroom and 40 4-bedroom units with private streets, a centralized recreation area, and access off a private street from Watson Way. This application has not been reviewed by the Planning Department, so the conformity with our code is yet to be determined, and staff has not taken any kind of formal position on the application pending the City Council's review. Some architectural concepts were also provided by the developer, who is here and will provide you a presentation following my presentation. This item was scheduled for discussion following submittal of the proposal by MLC in January of this year. They have not submitted a formal application, and so the staff is seeking direction from the council tonight as to whether or not we should accept a formal application and consider the proposal. As we do with all of these discussion items, all of the property owners within the notification boundary, which is 500 feet from the project site, were sent notification of this discussion item this evening. That completes my staff presentation. I'm available for any questions.
I have two speakers. Would you want to hear the speakers? The first one is the applicant, Lester Tucker.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Lester Tucker. I'm the Forward Planning Vice President for MLC Holdings. MLC Holdings is a wholly owned subsidiary of Meritage Homes. Meritage Homes, as you may know, a large national public builder. We're known for energy efficiency and building homes that people love to own and we're proud to build. We're building homes in about 27 different markets now, 240 communities nationwide, and one's as close as 4 miles away at our project Quintessa. Recently, I was in front of the Planning Commission and offered to provide tours to anyone who would like to go look at some of the new homes being built by Meritage Homes, and that stands for you folks as well. I want to thank John and his staff for helping us get to the City Council hearing. During our analysis of this property, it's very helpful, and it's been great working with the City of Vista. The protocols and the processes that you have in place are far superior to many of the jurisdictions we work in, and it makes understanding my business, which is very messy, more understandable. So thank you for that. Also like to thank everybody who's come out tonight. We pride ourselves on working both with the cities but also with the residents that we work with. We do quite a bit of work in coastal infill in California, and I meet a lot of neighbor groups. I meet with a lot of residents who are being affected by new housing, which is in almost as dire a state as water in California. I wish we could have a flood of housing at some point to try and bring prices down, but at any rate, thank you all for being here this evening. I just have a very quick presentation. Sorry about that. Just a very quick presentation here. As I mentioned, we're processing in quite a number of jurisdictions currently in California, over 10 jurisdictions doing public-private partnerships, general plan amendments. We have a very nimble team and an experienced team to be able to get through the complex entitlements that this particular project may entail. Take a look at the city's zoning. I think the meat of the matter here isn't whether or not Meritage Homes can deliver a beautiful home. It's not about whether we can provide a great amenity. It's not about whether it's going to be a nice place to live. Everybody knows Vista's a great place to live. Housing in San Diego is sparse, and new housing, I think, increased only 6% last year over 2015, so it's not coming on fast enough. We have a vision for a community that will provide attainable new housing for the makers that we just heard about, the artists that we just heard about that are gravitating towards Vista for all the reasons that you heard from the Vista Business District. And I believe his name was Jeffrey. This is the subject property here. I'm sure you're all very familiar with Sycamore and Watson. I believe there's been a burned down house there. I think some people were happy it burned down, but nonetheless. Again, as John mentioned, we're proposing, and it's a very early notion at this time, but our vision for the community contemplates 61 detached single-family houses, a neighborhood park for kids and families to gather, whether that's barbecues, pools, tot lot, those kind of things. Notions yet to be determined. As you know, this is very preliminary. The homes would be ranging from 1,800 to 2,200 square feet with 3 and 4 bedrooms. Typically, parking is always a major concern, and that's something that we try to plan into all of our projects to be exceeding the parking requirements, not just barely getting there. So full driveways, very traditional neighborhood layout with usable rear yards, not just little 5-foot courtyards that your barbecue very fits in a table, but an actual yard where you can have your dog run around and that kind of thing. And also we try to be compatible with the areas. We wouldn't propose a high-density, 3-story, 20 to the acre type project here. across the street from this project, there's another community, Arbor, I forget the name of it. Sorry, John. Arbor Glen. It's roughly the same density. The density we're proposing for this, the RM10, would allow up to 10 units per acre. We're in the mid-7s, 7.8, as this preliminary plan shows here, with a loop street and the Central Park area. These are just some examples of some neighborhood homes that we've built. They're not necessarily analogous to what we're proposing here, but just an example. I think just having a discussion about the temperature for council, for the city, for the neighbors is an important one for us as we determine the viability of the project and try to make a decision on going forward. And so I can talk about how great we're going to make it all night, but what I really am here to do is get a temperature from you folks, the elected officials who are in charge of the vision for the city and the important things to the city, and from the area residents if they're here to speak. So I'm glad to answer as many questions as anyone has. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And we'll listen to the other speaker, and then they may have some questions for you later. Marty Miller.
Thank you. I'll change hats here a little bit. I'm not really against this project at all. I think that we need housing. As a business owner driving up and down Sycamore twice a day, I don't relish the idea of more traffic. I think 60 homes on 8 acres is a lot of housing. But I'm here to speak on the behalf of the Optimist Club, as we have a property right across the street that has Little League fields, we have lights, we have kids, we have some noise occasionally in the baseball season. And I know this is probably premature, but my club was a little concerned on it, and I know Mr. Connolly in the past has been aware of our concerns when we develop more around our park. All we would ask is that when you do you consider this program and you put in the restrictions and covenants, that you make all the home buyers aware that there is a park there, that we were there first in this case, and we would hope that nobody would be shocked or surprised to find out that there's a park across the street with some noise. And I think from the optimist position, we're neutral on whether you approve the project or not. We would just ask that everybody be forewarned that there is a park there, so we don't have people calling and complaining. That's all we ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. I don't see any other speakers, so Councilmember Aguilera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I think it's very wise of the Optimist Club to be here, because I know we've had some issues in the past. We got another speaker coming up. Mr. Connolly, is there a way to mitigate that potential issue? Because I don't want to see these, if we even get to this point where we're actually going to pass this. I mean, is there a way to even mitigate that?
Typically, that's handled as Mr. Miller recommended, with a condition of approval that requires disclosure of the existence of the Little League field to any buyer of a home there.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have for right now.
Okay, I'll call our other speaker then. Roland Allen.
I just wanted to reiterate what Marty Miller said about the Little League and how the noise, it gets loud down there. And there's a lot of neighbors on the east of us that have complained, and we've had to do testing. Joe Green, you've been there, John, Judy, you've been there. And it's a great facility, and we don't want to see this impact what we do for the community. And that's all I can say.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Green.
All right, so a couple things. First off, I think it's amazing to have developers come in here and check on the viability of the project before it's, tons of money's wasted and the community's not informed. So thanks for having the processes in place here as the city. I'm glad that Mr. Conley and your team have processes in place that, make it easy for us. Now, I have visited the site. I think I need to disclose that I did visit with the site. I have met with the developer. I do feel that the site isn't very conducive for estate homes the way that it is currently zoned. I know that the parcels are zoned, a few different ways. Now, when we met with the developer's representative, we've made some changes to already what you presented us, and I know that there were concerns with amenities. I hear you speaking and saying that you guys are willing to work with us from a pool standpoint or a tot lot standpoint, or, when we actually get to that. The other question that I had here is, are you guys willing, our Optimist Club is really big in our area. A lot of our, local organizations have events there. They host, things for our community. It is a lively bunch of optimists, and as they should be. So, hey, optimists. But are you willing as a developer to put something in your CC&Rs, your conditions, covenants, and restrictions that specify there may be a noise nuisance within a certain these are homes that are purchased, so there is a 17-day due diligence period typically when they're going to be investigating personal factors, and I would assume this is a personal factor that we would disclose to them. So I guess I'm just asking, at their request, would you be willing to add that in your CC&Rs, your conditions, covenants, and restrictions, and then also we are flexible on the amenities once we actually get into the planning phase? That's it.
So I'll address the question. Absolutely, this would be something that would be addressed very clearly, not only in the CC&Rs, which is more of an enforcement document, but also with standalone disclosure documents that all the homeowners have to sign, noticing that there is an active PA. There's playoffs. There's screaming parents. I might be one of them. But yes, that is something that's customary and traditional, and we'll absolutely take care of that.
And lights. There's
yes,
lights.
yes, sir. Lighted fields. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Franklin.
I too would be amenable to requiring that disclosure as a part of the condition, because we've certainly been through that issue, and we don't want to create another issue. And I would definitely stand behind the optimists and having been there first. So it's important that all the new residents know what the condition is there. I think this is a nice project. These are some really nice homes to add a really nice neighborhood to our community. I want to make sure that we definitely would require compliance with our new amenities rules as a condition of approval. And I had some other comments that I had brought up in my meeting with the developer that I thought could improve the aesthetics, including taking the fire department's turnaround and making a cul-de-sac out of it, if possible, because I don't think the turnaround, which is in the far left-hand side of the picture, is very aesthetically pleasing. I think it would improve your property value there, and I don't think it would cost you anything additional instead of having those two dead ends. So if you can figure that out, I think it'd be great. I definitely want to hear from more of the community, make sure that the neighbors are pleased with this, but I think they should be, especially considering the fact that we've seen some proposals that are consistent with present zoning that are much greater density and higher, taller buildings. So this is, I think, really fits into the neighborhood better and is a better use for the surrounding neighbors. So I'm pleased that you're bringing the project, and thank you for being willing to work with the neighbors and the community and the city to make it a better project.
Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also met with the developer's representative, and I appreciate very much what Councilman Franklin said, although I'm going to have to disagree a little bit, because I think this does not fit in that neighborhood with this density. I think it is very high density. I think we put a lot of time and energy in our general plan and our zoning designations, and I'm not a fan of changing them. I think when you look at another neighborhood that we have that seems to be something that you want to emulate, to me it's not aesthetically pleasing in that neighborhood, and it's too high density. But the other thing that I try to look at, and you've all heard me say this before, is how is this project, how is this neighborhood going to enhance Vista? What is it doing to bring something into Vista? I see high density and more traffic. and things that we haven't really mitigated as far as our infrastructure goes to some extent. And I know that when we had the meeting, when I asked that question, the response was it's going to be affordable, more housing because we have this housing crisis. Not really quite the answer I was after. It needs to be more than that. It needs to be more than, well, you need houses in Vista. That's not enhancing our community. This isn't bringing anything extra to us. So I did talk about the trail, continuing the hiking trail that we have in this neighborhood and whether or not the developer would be amenable to fixing that. And they indicated yes, that they'd be amenable to fixing that or addressing it. And as far as the amenities go, I'm not sure how flexible we can be on the amenities. We have a list and we have a definite number of amenities that need to be furnished on this site. So there are some design elements in addition to, I'm not a fan of changing any of the general plan to accommodate this project at all. Certainly not for the density that you're looking at. But even the design of the houses, I just don't see it fitting into the neighborhood. I think there needs to be some additional work done on the aesthetics of the project if it were to go forward. So those are some of the things that I would definitely need to have you look at. Is how is it conducive to the people who will live there? How is it enhancing our community? And what amenities and how will they be spread out to enhance the neighborhood that you're bringing in? Because with this density and with what we're looking at on the screen are no amenities except for a little park, it really doesn't have a neighborhood feel. It's just a bunch of houses stuck on a street corner in Vista. There's no neighborhood to it. There's no charm to it. There's no Vista in it. And that's what I'm looking for. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. And I'll just kind of jump in here because I actually met with a developer and I agree with the hiking trails. If you could put a hiking trail around that and hook up with the other hiking trail that's across from the development that's across from that, it would be helpful. And one of my concerns was, these are two-story, 3- and 4-bedroom homes, and so I was concerned that says kids to me, families, and so I'm concerned with maybe not enough parking because I know there's two in the garage and 2 in the driveways, but I know that a lot of families have teenage kids that have more cars, and so guests, and so if you could take maybe 4 houses out of there and add some, I don't know if you can do that and add some parking in there in the inside of that, because there's no place to park out on the street. So, and then the other thing I was thinking, one of the amenities where the entrance is on the side there, it looks like on a V, if you could maybe put a basketball court or something for the kids, something, besides the park, have another area over there, another amenity, and you can come up with something, but those are just my thoughts. And so, but I think how it enhances Vista is we need new housing in Vista. The inventory is so low with what's on the market and the prices, and they're good starter homes for people. And the reason I like the park is because these houses in the middle don't seem to have much of a backyard, and so for families, they need a place for their kids to run out there and the little ones to play and stuff. So anyway, those are kind of my thoughts, and I see I have more speakers again. So Councilmember Aguilera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just really wanted to agree with what you said and Councilwoman Rigby about the amenities. I think that's something that we all agreed on, that we would add more amenities to projects like this. And I certainly would like to see that trail be part of this project as well. And, the parking, probably something that could be improved. My thing, I find more important, though, it's a little bit dense. So I think there's a lot of units there. I'm wondering what would be the feasibility of reducing the number of units that you have, because I think it's just. I've been thinking about it. I've met with the developer on this, and ever since, there's just something I haven't liked about it, and I think it's just the fact that it's so efficient the way you guys put the number of units you put on there, that it. I don't know, it's almost like it's factory looking. And so I'm just wondering if you can reduce a few units, add some variety to the streets, just add some personality to the project. I definitely recognize that we have a housing crisis throughout San Diego County and North County and actually throughout the country, really. So I like the fact that we're going to be able to add to our housing, but I also like the fact that this is for, as ownership properties. I think that's an important factor. So for now, that's all I've got.
Deputy Mayor Franklin.
One other question I had. Are your CC&Rs going to require the garages to be used to park vehicles? In other words, folks would not be allowed to use their garages for alternative purposes?
Yes, that's a fact. Absolutely.
So a variance.
Back in the day when we had the tilt-up doors, I don't know, maybe you guys remember, we used to have the inspection. You tilt up your door and you got to have room for 2 cars in there. So yes, we're very familiar with that, and that is a standard protocol for any kind of infill projects that we do where we're trying to fit in an existing environment. One of the most common complaints in council chambers is, you guys approved this new project and now they're parking all over my street and I can't put my trash cans out, or I can't have my family over because they got to park 2 blocks away. So absolutely, that is something that not only do we put in the CC&Rs, but we also put in enforcement protocols. So every home buyer will have to register their license plates with the HOA, so the HOA knows whose cars are whose, and if there's people that don't live there and they're parking on the street where they're not supposed to be. There's a whole micro cottage industry of how to control new residential development parking. It starts with the CC&Rs. It doesn't end there, though. So thank you for the question.
Is the thought that each home would be required to apply for a variance from the association for greater than 2 cars?
No, not for a variance for greater than 2 cars. Each home would have the capacity for 4 cars on the private property, 2 in the driveway and 2 in the garage. But the details of a lot of that are, again, this is a very early notion on the project design, the layout, the amenities, and those kind of things. But that's certainly something that we can consider as we go forward.
I do think that the parking is an issue. This does seem like substantially less available parking. And I understand that you have the 2 in the driveway. You've got an absolutely gorgeous looking product, I think. I think it looks really nice, the sketches do, and some of the things that you've built. But we all know that a bunch of cars parked in front, it does diminish the aesthetic value of the neighborhood. But that being said, these are going to be really nice homes that are going to be very highly sought after. I'm sure that these are going to be. It's going to be a nice project. People are going to be really highly desirous of living there. So. Yeah, but I do want to second the comments about the parking. I think it's really important for us to take a look and just I think you're clear in what I was saying, but I don't want to be flexible. I want to meet the minimums for the amenities that we set in our new when we re-looked at that. I want to make sure that this meets the minimums that we just established. So and it would just naturally, right? You're required to comply with those.
Those, excuse me, those zoning changes will be back in front of the council for approval in April, and this project will have to meet them.
Then I'd want them to be an additional condition on when staff brings the general plan amendment forward. I would ask that would be included. The other thing I wanted to ask was, is just in the area that's zoned for the nursing. What's the density that's allowable in that area now?
For the assisted care facility that was proposed, we generally don't apply density designations to assisted care because it operates a little differently than a residential use would.
What was the density that we saw in the proposals that were made?
With that particular project?
Right.
They were asking to put in, I believe, around 300 units, if I'm not mistaken, 250, something like that. That was a mix of active living and assisted care. So
this potentially represents a very dramatic reduction
Yes.
in the density that if a developer brought us a plan today that complied within the existing footprint of the skilled nursing or the nursing facility. If somebody wanted to build what's zoned to be built there, they could probably build in excess of 150, 200 and up units.
Would still require the discretionary approval of the Planning Commission for a special use permit, so the city would still have full discretion in that decision.
Okay. So, but we've got the property zoned for that kind of use.
That's correct.
So
it's commercially zoned for the most part.
And the thought is that if somebody brought us something that was a typical design, likely would find approval. So, I mean, I do think that by approving a residential project of for sale homes, I do think that we're locking in a lower total quantity of units. I do understand the difference in the traffic between a nursing facility, although there would be a large number of visitors and staff that would be coming and going from that kind of a facility also. That would kind of be an offset of residential traffic. So there is, I think on the whole, this is a better project for the neighborhood than what it's currently zoned for. So what we get out of it, I like the idea of completing the trail, and I appreciate your willingness to do that. But I do think that this, and the other thing I wanted to point out, because I live in this neighborhood, is the fact that the shopping center that's immediately juxtaposed is underutilized. The Stater Brothers shopping center, with perhaps the sole exception of Stater Brothers, is fairly underutilized. We had difficulty finding a great retail tenant to occupy the Big Lots space, which was in itself an underutilization. So, we're seeing discount stores and businesses that probably aren't as uplifting to the community as they could be. And I think bringing in a little bit more customer base will actually be an asset to other neighbors in the community, because those folks will bring their shopping dollars and help us to improve the existing retail that we have and create a stronger desire for businesses to locate there. So, in that way, I think there is a benefit, that and the greater global benefit of serving the housing needs of the region, which, I never, as important as that is, I never put that ahead of the interest of our citizens. But that's where I'm at.
Councilmember Green.
Awesome. Once again, thank you for being up here. Something that stuck out to me as a new council member is I was in this meeting with Councilmember Aguilera, and there was a presentation for this property before, and something that stuck out was, I want a spectacular project on this lot. And I remember when those words came out of John's mouth, I sat back and said, is this a spectacular project? And when I was looking at it, and the gentleman I met with, I specifically said, it's not spectacular, it's good, but we can make it pretty fantastic. And in echo, hearing what all of my peers said here, a few things that I think we need to do. Number one, parking is an issue. There's a similar development here in Shadow Ridge called the Cottages. Cottages 1, Cottages 2. They have full-size driveways. They have parking restrictions. They have to ask for variances if their trucks are too big to get in their garages. There are parking issues. They're parking on other streets and things like that. So I do feel like when we look at this, the efficiency, as Mr. Aguilera put it, of the units here, they are stacked one on top of the other. I feel like if we got rid of, 5 or 6 of the units, increased parking, maybe made that tot lot area with the pool area a little bigger, the idea that we kind of had was to have it as a town square area, like a center of the whole community that everybody could use. Initially, when it was presented, as you know, it was way off on the outskirts, and I know you guys moved it, but I think just more minis make it something that is spectacular. The other thing is, what's the benefit for our community? Number one, it's going to help our businesses thrive. Number two, if you have $450,000 homes, that's a $2,700 mortgage payment. That means that you're going to have 50 homeowners coming in that can afford a $2,700 mortgage payment, which means they're going to be making over $72,000 to $80,000 per year. Those are the type of people that we want to bring into Vista to help strengthen our economy, that are going to allow us to make the infrastructure improvements and allow our businesses to thrive and do all the things that we want to. So I do feel like if there was a project that met the needs of this particular site, how it was currently zoned, it's been zoned that way for a while, we may have seen it. And if you're willing to work with us and work with our community to make this something that can be a true benefit for Vista, and you're willing to listen to what we said as a council and come back, I think that this could definitely be a project that is a benefit for our city and a project that could benefit our citizens as a whole. So thank you for hearing our concerns.
Thank you all for your comments. I very much appreciate it. Take them to heart, particularly working with your residents and working with the city. We do partner with the cities that we work with, and we participate in the cities we work with. And you'll see that over the course of the next 10 months or so with another project that we're already working on here in the city of Vista. So thank you all for your comments. I've made notes here. We absolutely will work on the trail. We will do as you guys have said, and you should. You want something fantastic, and we want to deliver something fantastic. So thank you very much. And Matt apologizes for not being here.
It's okay. Okay. Speaker.
If you have not already, would you make sure that you meet with the South Vista communities about this project and get their input?
Yes, we have, and we will continue to work with the South Vista Communities Association.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
This
Thanks,
was
John.
a discussion item, and so it doesn't take any action by our council. Am I correct on that? Yes, okay. Okay, so that brings us to, I guess, almost the end of our meeting. Oral communications, do I have one of those? I have one speaker, that would be Leonard Kuhlman.
Good evening. My name is Leonard Kuhlman. I'm the owner of the property at 1204 Palomar Place, and I'm here to talk about the illegal dump site that is behind my property in the alleyway B, which is known as a city street. And the illegal dumping has taken place on this alley, and it is a known city street, and it has not been addressed by the city. I have brought this to light to various individuals within the city, Public Works, Chuck Christ, and spoken to Code Enforcement, Art Phoebing, and I have also had conversations with the assistant to the city manager, Mr. Tony Winnie, regarding this problem. And the problem is more a case of removing the illegal dump items that have been dropped off on the site. But the sidelight to it is that there is a dumpster for the project that sits right in the middle of where this takes place. And it's all within or on city property. It is not on my property. It has been determined by Art Phoebing that he cannot cite the city of Vista for an illegal dump site for obvious reasons. He would cite me if it was on mine. What we're trying to accomplish is to get this taken care of, to remove the furniture, bedding, and even a refrigerator with its doors still on that is sitting there on city property. It won't be picked up by EDCO. They said they won't do it. The only way that they would pick it up is if there was a bulk item pickup. That requires somebody to pay for it, and it's not on my property. There is only one person that it's property it sits on, or individual, entity, which is the city of Vista. One of the big problems in the area is that there are 36 4-unit apartment buildings that are serviced by this area. That is 144 apartments in a very small area. And this is serviced by 4 dumpsters. And in order to take care of the problem, EDCO has come by 6 times a week. I don't know if there's another area within the city of Vista that's residential that gets picked up 6 times a week. That truck does severe damage to the street, which is maintained by the city, and the city has repaired it multiple times, and it needs to be repaired right now. I have provided a package with pictures to each one of the council members, and it shows what condition it's in right now and what has taken place on a recent rainstorm, which is floating debris at my property. It's right adjacent to my property. I have a tenant that just moved out today due to this problem because he can't even pull in his own parking space. So what I'm asking for is that the city consider immediately removing the items that have been left there on an illegal dump site. We can work through the other problems of what needs to be done with changing the pickup location of trash. We can put up cameras that will take pictures. We can do a lot of things in the future. But today I'm asking, please consider having the city and the Public Works Department pick up the illegal dump site that is adjacent to my property for the good of all the citizens of Vista. This isn't just me. It's for every child that's out there. I have 8 kids in my property, 8 children. I'd hate for one of them to crawl in that refrigerator that's sitting on the City of Vista property. So if you could please consider it. There's not even a sign up that says no dumping. There's nothing placed on the property. There's nothing there. It's wide open. Other people within the city know of this. Chuck Chris has known of this since 1980 when he came to work for the City of Vista, and it still hasn't been taken care of.
Thank you, sir. We will look into that. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. We appreciate it. Okay, with that, that's all of our oral communications, so we'll go to comments, remarks. I will go ahead and do my general remarks here, and then I will pass it on down. Number one, I want to encourage residents to get involved in the community by applying to fill one of the 2017 scheduled city commissions, committees, and board vacancies. Applications and information on the individual vacancies are available online at cityofvista.com. Registration is open for residents to enroll in CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team training, a disaster preparedness training hosted by the Vista Fire Department. The program trains participants in basic emergency response skills so they can help themselves, their families, and neighbors in the event of a disaster. So information is online at vistascert.org. On Saturday, March the 4th, from 2 to 3, listen to some of the best young singers from San Diego State and Point Loma Nazarene University at the Vista Library. The students will present operatic pieces with a music director providing a narration of each selection. So for information, you can call the Vista Library at 760-643-5100. And last, the art volunteers will be at the Senior Center to provide help with taxes for the 2016 year. Oh, that's coming, isn't it? Tax time. Contact the Senior Center at 760-643-5290 to make an appointment, and walk-ins are also welcome, but just check with the center for available tax help hours. So with that, I will pass it on to Councilmember Aguilera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and I guess put my NCTD hat on. So I sit on the board for NCTD, and I was at a retreat this past Saturday, so I missed most of the city events, so I apologize. But we had our annual retreat, which happens, I guess, every 2 or 3 years. But with that, there was a couple things that were talked about. One is that one of the routes for the breeze here in Vista is going to be removed. It's going to be talked about at the March 16th meeting. So it does seem to be a redundant route. The 334 goes in the opposite direction. So there will be, though, possibly 42 to 47 people displaced or missing a ride. But there's chances that they'll be picked up if they just are willing to wait for another 20 minutes. So anyways, I just announced that because we are having the NCTD meeting here on March 16th in our council chambers at 2 p.m. So if anybody's interested, they can show up and see what we do at NCTD. And in addition to that, NCTD is looking to replace our locomotives, particularly for the coaster. I didn't realize this, but when the coaster was started, they purchased used locomotives, and so they're very old, a lot of rust. But we're talking about $7.5 million per locomotive. So it's big dollars. So anyways, that's something that we're focused on for the next year and trying to replace and finding money, grant money for that. And the biggest thing, I think, is NCTD is starting to transition to more of a flex type program that's going to utilize different services for the last mile instead of, so cab services, fact, even stuff like out and about and that. But anyhow, they're looking at Lyft, I think, also an Uber. So we're really looking at modernizing what transportation is here in the upcoming decades. You know, it really has changed. We're looking at making smaller buses and, you know, utilizing some of these more modern services like Uber and Lyft to be more efficient as well. So exciting things, but as usual, transportation doesn't always move very quickly. So anyhow, March 16th, 2 p.m.
Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to say thank you and congratulations to the Sheriff's Department and city staff. We had a great event on Saturday, a day with the deputy. And I know I was out there along with the mayor and city manager and some other people from staff. And I think the helicopter was the biggest hit. I saw the kids in and out of the jumpy house and some of the other things, but they were really in awe of the helicopter. And it was a really nice event. And thank you all for coming out and for doing that for us and for the community. And I also want to say a special shout out to Mayor Ritter and our city manager, Patrick Johnson. As we said earlier, you heard February is Heart Health Month nationwide, and the American Heart Association Go Red for Women campaign. And Mr. Johnson and Mayor Ritter came out to support the event that we had this Saturday.
With our red shoes.
And I see Mr. Johnson wearing his red dress. I'm so embarrassed. I left mine in my car.
His red dress?
Excuse me, what did you say?
Oh,
red
the red
what?
dress pin. To go with your red shoes.
It's like, whoa.
And I'm embarrassed to say, after all of this, I actually left my pin in the cup holder of my car. But anyway, thank you so much for coming out and supporting the event, and also to the Vista Fire Department, Chief Hahn. The firemen came by to cheer us on, and that was really well received. And of course, they get stopped everywhere they go because the little kids want to climb up in the fire truck, and so they got to have some time with the community as well on Saturday. So thank you for that as well, and thank you to staff for everything that you do. You help us do what we do and make us look good. So thank you.
Deputy Mayor Franklin. Okay. Councilmember Green.
All right. First of all, I was in Sacramento all weekend, so I missed the day with the deputy and didn't get to harass the staff and hang out in a helicopter and sit in the back of a cop car willingly. Also, I spoke yesterday at Vita, which is a new middle school, a magnet school in our area, and I spoke in the capacity of being a city councilman for the first time. So I thought I was going to give one 15-minute speech, and I ended up giving 4 40-minute assemblies to 300 children at a time. So they all know Doris's phone number, and they may be calling because they all have amazing ideas. I want to make sure that, number one, I just thank our city staff. Being a new council member, I'm kind of just fired up and all over the place. Everybody I speak with just sings the staff's praises from the mountaintops, which is crazy because I assumed there'd be more complaining, and I haven't heard much of that yet. Lauren, I want to make sure you know I am looking so forward to our budget meeting this week, so maybe we'll still be great when we come back. The other thing is I want to make sure that my city just knows that my council peers are amazing. I really appreciate you guys. I love sitting up here with you. I like the insight that you guys have. I like the wisdom that you guys share with me, and then also just the advice, like sitting up in my seat and not slouching and picking my battles and just really speaking with my community before I make a decision. So city staff and city council, just as the new guy up here, I'm honored to be serving next to you, and I thank you. Anytime you have an opinion, please, you guys are all brilliant minds in our city. We're lucky to have you serve, and please speak your mind so that I can hear it and help make my decisions. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Okay. One thing I want to add is we went to the Vista Community Clinic. Councilmember Green was there last night, and they graduated, they and Cal State San Marcos graduated 29 of medical assistants, and it's a new program, a partnership between the two, between the Vista Community Clinic and Cal State San Marcos, and they're going to, it's a hands-on thing, so they do their training at the, book work, and then they also have hands-on training at the clinic, so it's a new program which worked out really well. So that was their first graduating class last night, so that was kind of an interesting thing also. So now I will turn it over to our city manager.
Mayor, after Councilwoman Rigby's comments on my attire, I will refrain from any further comments this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, you don't have any little paper or anything to read tonight? Did you lose it?
I lost it.
Okay. Okay, how about our city attorney?
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
How about our city clerk? Nothing? Nothing from anyone? Okay, we are now adjourned.